Get yourself comfortable. If you can, sit on 2 yoga blocks or anything similar that you may have, like books or blankets or a pillow. So the higher you sit, the more your hips and your lower back usually get to relax. Sitting on the ground is perfectly fine as well. Any position is fine, so whatever position you prefer, make sure it feels comfortable. Your hands can go down onto your thighs. Maybe you like your palms relaxed, facing up towards the ceiling. And then give yourself a moment to settle. Letting your elbows and your shoulders relax. Giving yourself a moment to find a nice and comfortable position for your head. And if you like, close your eyes. You can always soften your gaze instead if closed eyes doesn't feel comfortable for you. And then give yourself a moment to settle in. Any posture is perfectly fine as long as it's comfortable for you. And if it doesn't feel good anymore, change it. So if you don't change anything, you can't expect anything to change. And remember, you can change your posture anytime if you don't like it anymore. Start to focus on your breath. There's no need to judge or to change your breath. Just let your breath be whatever way it flows. And feel it, notice it. How does it feel like to breathe? How does your inhalation feel like compared to your exhalation? So once you learn to notice things, then you can start changing them. So the way you're breathing, does it feel good? And if it does, there's no need to change. Then leave your breath the way it is. Or you can see if it would feel nicer if you'd slow down your breath a little bit. So taking the pace out of your inhalation and out of your exhalation. So if you slow down your breath a little bit, does this make your breath and yourself feel better? Give yourself a moment to play around with this. You don't have to get it right immediately. That's what you're here for, so you can practice and try and figure out how things work and what feels good for your body. So how slow feels good for you right now? And the pace of your breath that feels good for you will change depending on what you're doing. So there's no right or wrong here. What works for you right now, that's what you want. So I just suggest and you choose what works for you. How does your breath feel like? Your inhalation and your exhalation. Does it need to be slowed down a little bit more? Or does it feel good the way it just is right now? Give yourself another moment with that. And then, if you like, inhale deeply through your nose, open your mouth for the exhalation and relax your throat for the exhalation. And if it feels nice, then you can repeat this a couple more times. Deep inhalation through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, allowing your jaw to relax. And then slowly come back to a nose breath if you can, focusing on breathing through the nose throughout the class if possible. So close your mouth, give yourself a moment for letting the breath flow back to its normal natural flow. And then start to wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes, give your body a little bit more movement, include your shoulders, start to roll your shoulders back a couple of times. Feel the shoulder joints, your shoulder blades moving. Bring a little bit more movement into your face. If you like, give yourself a smile, and you can hold that smile for a breath or two. And then stop the movement altogether and slowly open your eyes. So let's start by stretching the neck. Tilt your head to the right side, bringing your right ear down to your right shoulder, and you feel a little bit more stretch, a bit more length in the left side. And from here, allow your head to get really heavy. So roll your head forward, so your chin is coming close to your chest, stretching the back of your neck. And then continue rolling your head to the left, tilting your head to the left. Left ear goes down to your left shoulder for a stretch in the right. And then repeat this again and start some little half circles from side to side, creating the stretch in the side, in the back, in the other side. And then take your time to move your head from side to side as fast or as slow as you like. So start with something easy and comfortable. And if you feel it's a bit too much too soon, back off a little bit. Give your body some time, some realistic chance to warm up, to activate, to get used to what you're doing. And if you feel things start being a bit more warmed up and stretchy and getting easier, feel free to go further, move further, push a little bit harder. So that's perfectly fine. And then from here, take your right hand onto the ground, stretch your left arm over your head. The more you stretch over and the more you move your left shoulder away from your left hip, the more stretch you're gonna get through the side. So you can even purposely push your left hip down towards the ground as you're stretching your left arm over your head. Take a breath or two here. You decide how intense you make that stretch here. And then change sides. Left hands down, right arm up over your head. You can push your right hip more down towards the ground if you like. And take in a couple of breaths here, stretching the right side, everything between your right hip and your right shoulder. And then let's come back to center. Take your hands and your elbows together and keep your elbows touching for as long as you can. So as you're lifting your arms up towards the ceiling, keep them touching for as long as possible. You will reach a stage where you can't keep the elbows together anymore, and then you start opening them, reaching all the way up, and then push your elbows back, bend them and bring them all the way down. And then repeat this a couple more times in your own breathing pace. Hands and elbows together. Keep the elbows touching for as long as you can on the way up. So you probably feel a bit more stretch in the back of or in between your shoulder blades. So all the way up towards the ceiling, let your elbows open, bend your elbows, push them back and down. And the more you push them back and down, the more stretch you probably feel in the front of your chest and your shoulder. And then repeat this a couple more times in your own movement pace. So it's perfectly fine if your shoulders start clicking or cracking a little bit. Don't be afraid of that. You probably feel the sounds are disappearing. The more you're moving, the more your joints are warming up. If there is a bit of a pinch or a bit of a pain, do back off a little bit and make the movement a little bit smaller. So you give your shoulder joints a bit of a chance of warming up and getting used to the movement and stretching out. And the last one. And then take your arms forward, keeping your elbows straight, and you want to get a bit more movement into your wrists. So point your fingers down and back, so they're really facing towards your armpits, elbows straight, And the more you're trying to draw your fingertips, your fingers towards the armpits, the more you probably feel the bottom of your forearm muscles working here. And you're going to make a lot of wrinkles in the bottom of your wrist. And then let's try the opposites. Fingers up, and now try to pull your fingers back to the top of your shoulder. Again, the elbow stays straight. And the more you're trying to pull the fingers to the top of your shoulder, the more wrinkles you're going to get in the top of your wrist, and you probably feel the top of your forearm muscles working hard. And then connect them. Point towards your armpits, and then point towards the top of your shoulders. And repeat this a couple more times. Elbows staying straight, that's probably a hard one. And see how much range of motion can you get out of your wrists. And that's usually a hard one if you're not used to use your wrist muscles, your forearm muscles. But it's a good way preparing the wrists for any all-fours position. Give your hands a bit of a shake. If you have been using blocks, feel free to take them to the front of your mat. They can wait there for you for later, and we'll come into an all-fours position, onto the hands, onto the knees. Feel free to pad up your knees a little bit, maybe put a pillow or a blanket or a jumper underneath if you want a little bit of extra cushioning for your knees. Spread your fingers, and we take a couple of cat-cows. So exhale to bend, and inhale to arch. Bend into cat. Inhale into cow. As you move into cat, as you're bending, think of bringing your nose and your pubic bone as close as it feels comfortable. And as you inhale into your cow, think of your nose and your pubic bone move away from each other. Nose and pubic bone are coming towards each other, bend and stretch the back. Nose and pubic bone are moving away from each other, arch and stretch the front. It's perfectly fine to feel a little discomfort or feel a little bit hard work. Push yourself as much as you feel good to. Don't be afraid of a bit of discomfort, but I don't want you to push into pain or into pure exhaustion. No matter what movement or what pose we're on, please back off if it feels painful or if there is too much exhaustion happening. And last one, arching into cow, arching your whole spine. Bending into cat. And then let's come back to neutral. Stretch your left leg out behind you and circle your ankle joint. And you may feel again, or you may even hear that there is clicks and cracks and sounds in your ankle joint. So again, no big deal. Change direction. With the sounds in your body, it's a little bit like when you're hungry. When you're hungry, your stomach usually makes a bit sounds, and literally when your joints are hungry for movement, let's change sides. When your joints are hungry for movement, they sometimes make sounds as well. So change direction, just getting a little bit more movement into your ankle joints. And we'll take the first downward facing dog. If you are wearing socks, it's a good time to take them off. If you keep your socks on, just be aware you might be slipping a little bit more on the mat. So spread your fingers, curl under your toes, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, relax your head. You can take the feet rather further away or closer depending on what suits you. And we'll start with the heels off the ground, with the knees bent. And then you can start to reach the heels towards the ground. They don't have to touch the ground. You can also start to straighten your knees more. They don't have to be fully straight. And then give yourself some time to find a stretch in your calves, in your hamstrings that feels good to begin with. Any numbness, any pins and needles, any pain, any super strained feeling in the back of your legs, that's a signal of your body, of your muscles to back off a little bit. Don't ignore that, please do that. And to begin with, keep your feet roughly as wide as your hips, and your feet are parallel, just for you to notice how that stretch feels like. So that's one way, one alignment for your feet in your downward facing dog. Let's take a low lunge. Step your right leg forward, maybe a few steps or maybe one step, see what works for you. Let your left knee come down towards the ground. Again, pad it if you like, folding your mat or with a blanket, whatever you have. And then reach your arms up towards the ceiling into your low lunge position. It's up to you now how much you let your hips sink forward and down, depending on how much stretch feels comfortable for you in your left front thigh or your left hip. Again, you can always back off if it feels too much too soon. You can always let your hips sink forward and down a little bit more if you feel your body's getting used to what you're doing. It starts getting easier and your body is happy to drop a little bit more. Let's take another breath here. And then to make twisting easier, bring your hips back again. So you're stacking your upper body on top of your left leg. Bring your hands together in front of your heart center and you're going to twist to the right. So twist as much to the right as it feels comfortable and turn your head to look over your right shoulder to include your neck muscles as well. So with each inhalation, try to make yourself longer, thinking of reaching the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. And with each exhalation, try to twist more towards the right. So you're going to go ahead in your own breathing pace. With your inhalation, lengthen. And with your exhalation, turn and twist and look over your right shoulder. Inhale again to lengthen. Exhale to twist. And then give yourself a couple more repetitions to go further and further into that twist. And you probably feel the further you're trying to get into that twist, into your full end range, the more stretch you probably feel, but it's also a lot more work. So you're starting to use a lot more strength, especially in your torso, in your spine muscles. Last exhalation to twist. And then let's come back to center. Hands down, downward facing dog. Hips up towards the ceiling. Give your legs, your calves a little bit more stretch here. And you can try here to take the feet a little bit wider than your hips and see if this changes the stretch sensation in your calves and in your hamstrings. So there's loads of different ways of stretching your legs in your downward facing dog. So it's always a good idea to be curious and to play around a little bit with different forms of alignment. If you never change your alignment or the way you're doing things, you never really get a chance of feeling a stretch or the strength or the work in different parts of your body or your muscle fibers. Alright, we'll take that low lunge again. Left leg is stepping forward this time. Bring your right knee down, arms up towards the ceiling. You decide how much you let your hips sink forward. If you feel the hips can't quite sink forward, you can't quite get that stretch, then walk your front foot further away. See if you can then let the hips sink more forward and intensify the stretch. If it feels like too much stretch, you can do the opposite. Walk your foot a little bit closer and you may find you're not getting as much into that stretch naturally anyway. So depending on where your front foot goes, you can also modify a little bit how much stretch you're feeling here. So feel free to really make this your own stretch. It needs to feel comfortable. It can be intense. It can be a little uncomfortable. That's nothing to be afraid of. Just don't make it painful, please. Let's bring the body weight back over the right leg, hands together. And we're twisting to the left, looking over the left shoulder. So lengthen again on your inhalation. Crown of the head is reaching up towards the ceiling. And turn and twist on your exhalation. Make yourself long as you inhale. And see if you can turn and twist a little bit more to the left, looking over your left shoulder on your exhalation. And again, give yourself a couple more repetitions, working with your own breath. So everybody will have a different breathing pace, so there's no point in me telling you when to inhale and when to exhale and how long or how fast to breathe, because it may not work for you. Nice one. Let's come back. Hands down and then step to the front of your mats. The feet roughly as wide as your hips. Bend your knees and let your upper body fold over your bent knees. Move your head a little bit from side to side if you like. And in that forward fold, we are starting with that forward fold. Knees bent, the back is bent. Roll up into standing. Reach your arms overhead and look up, and now you're in your full upward salute. And then roll down again into your forward fold and bend your knees. So you're making yourself small and everything bends, knees and back. And then you're making yourself tall, everything straightens, your knees and your back. Look up, lean back if you like, and then back into your forward fold. Bend everything, including your knees. Reach up into your upward salute, straighten everything, including your knees. And then combine forward fold and upward salute in your own pace, with your own flow a couple more times. So you decide how fast you're moving, and you decide how far you're moving. You can stop here, or go further, or go further, or go further. So that's totally up to you. See what your body feels ready for. You can slowly progress and play around a little bit with pace and with your end range. So forward folds, folding over, bending everything, letting the head drop. Upward salute, stretching everything, making yourself long and tall. And the next time you're coming into your upward salute, bring your hands back together in front of your heart center. Let your elbows and your shoulders relax. Soften your thighs and your toes. If you like, close your eyes. Alternatively, feel free to soften your gaze again. And then give yourself a moment in your mountain pose, in your Tadasana. Again, there's no need to judge or to change your breath. I just want you to feel your breath. How does it feel like to breathe right now? How does your inhalation feel like compared to your exhalation? And it's perfectly normal if the way you're breathing, the sensation of your breath has changed now compared to when I asked you at the very beginning of the class. Because depending on what you're doing, if you're physically, emotionally, mentally working, active, your breath is going to change. And again, does your breath feel fine the way it is, or would it feel nicer if you'd just slow it down a little bit? So if you gently slow down your breath, is this helpful or not? See if it works. See what works for you. If you like, relax your face. See if this helps softening your breath. And then let's open the eyes. Take your legs a little bit wider. You can anytime progress and widen them more and more, so totally up to you. Let's reach up again into upward salute. Roll down into your forward fold. I'm just turning around so you can see me more, but you can still be at the front of your mat if you like. So if you want, use your blocks for this again. You can do this with the blocks, hand on the blocks, or without the blocks, hands dangling in the air or on the ground. That's really totally up to you. So into your forward fold, same like earlier, but this time your stance is a lot wider. Let your knees be bent a little bit so your head, your upper body can fold forward. And then you can start to bend the right knee, straighten the left, and then opposite. Bend the left, straighten the right. If you like, you can take the blocks and walk them over to the side, or have your hands on the ground. You can make this a little bit more dynamic, moving from side to side, or stay in one position for a couple of breaths. Straightening the right, pushing the right leg down a little bit, bending the left, and you can push your left hip over to the left a little bit more. So the static version gives you a bit more intense stretch. The dynamic version allows you to move fluidly in between. If you want, take the feet a little bit wider. So just getting a little bit more length into your adductors, into the inside of your thighs. then from here, if you're still at the front of your mat, take your right foot to the middle, step your left foot back, so you're coming into a high lunge position, bending your right, reaching your arms up towards the ceiling. You can straighten the front knee a little bit more for less work in the front thigh, or bend it more. Don't be afraid of bending it more than 90 degrees, but you probably feel the work a little bit more intense in your front thigh, so you decide. You can shorten your stance or lengthening it again. See how much you want to challenge yourself in terms of balance, in terms of stability. And if you keep your feet parallel and both feet facing forward, and then straighten your left knee and push that left heel towards the ground again, you probably get a little bit more stretch into your left calf. So your high lunge, arms reaching up, front knee bent, and the left calf being stretched. And if you do turn your left heel in now, you probably feel it's much easier to bring that left foot onto the ground. Less stretch, but a lot more stability. So now you're just simply in your warrior two stance. That right leg can stay as it is. Stretch your arms out either side your body. And from here, drop your left hand onto your left leg. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Right elbow goes onto your right knee. Left arm, goes up towards the ceiling or over your head, totally up to you. And again, you can do this rather slow. Take your time and stay in each stretch, in each position for a couple of breaths. Or you can do this rather fast. So feel free again to play around with pace and with your range of motion. Does it feel better to go slow or fast? To make smaller movements or bigger movements? And you can totally mix and match. You don't have to finish with what you started. Feel free to mix the pace, mix the end range, so you're really suiting it to your body, and you can explore and be curious about a couple of different sensations here. And then from here we'll take another downward facing dog. Bringing the hands down, stepping the right leg back, hips up towards the ceiling. And this time feel free to mess up with your alignment a little bit more. So instead of parallel, getting into Charlie Chaplin, heels together, toes away from each other, and see if this changes the sensation of your stretch. So turning the heels in, the feet out, gives you a bit more external rotation in your hips, and it probably gets quite a few different muscle fibers in the back of your calf, in your hamstring. And you can see how the opposite feels, toes in, heels out. And that can be a quite nice one, because your legs, your hips are in internal rotation now, to get to the external fibers of your hamstrings, of your calves. So you don't really need to memorize this, just changing the alignment and feeling it, that's already enough. We'll take that high lunge again. Left leg is stepping forward. Reach up towards the ceiling. You decide how much you bend the front knee. You decide how long your stance is. So it's not like signing a mortgage and once you have your stance you can't get out of it anymore. If you feel you're getting a little bit too wobbly and it's not super stable and you're losing your strength, then just change the length of your stance here. So feet parallel, both feet facing forward, and then straighten your back knee, push that back heel towards the ground. It does not need to reach the ground, and give yourself a breath or two here, just to get that length and that stretch into the back of into your calf. And then see again if you can feel the difference between the stretch in your high lunge versus turning the back heel in so that right foot can be flat on the ground. Your back knee is still straight, but this way you have a lot more stability, less stretch, and you're in your warrior two stance again. The left knee stays bent. Arms either side the body. You decide again how wide or narrow your stance is going to be. So stretch and find your pace. And see what feels nicer. Going slow or going fast or making small movements or rather big movements. So everything is allowed. Be curious and play around and see, is your body more in the mood of doing a bit less and feeling and breathing, or is your body more in the mood of pushing yourself right now and working yourself a little bit further? So totally your choice. And then before the legs are going to die at all, really get back into an all fours position, onto your hands, onto your knees. And it's time for some disco cats, I'd say. So see, can you move your spine in all the ways? Can you include your neck and your head, your lower back, your mid back? So really think of a cat in a disco, maybe a cat in ecstasy, whatever way you want to call it, and see what ways can you move your spine. Is there any movements you haven't done in a while or you might be curious about? So let the movements be weird and random, and the weirder and the more random the better, because this is usually the ways we never really move our spines in. And it only feels strange or weird if you don't practice it. So the more you start practicing the odd movements, the funny movements, the less strange and odd they're gonna feel. And it's also a way of moving into your blind spots where you may have a bit of stiffness or immobility or weakness or pain. So by moving and stretching those areas, you're gonna be less likely to be stiff and tense there. So let's come into and stretch the needle. Your left hand goes right underneath your chest. Take your right arm up towards the ceiling and then down and over to the left. Your left elbow can bend. Reach up, turn and twist. You can look towards your right hand if you like. And stand down and over to the left. And then repeat this a couple more times. If you like, connect it to your breath. Inhale on the way up. Exhale on the way down. Inhaling on the way up. Exhaling on the way down. If connecting the breath with the movements makes you feel a little bit short of breath or feel good with that movement, then option 2, allow your breath to flow here. So you're moving and you're letting your breath flow. So again, not every way of breathing feels good for everybody, so there's no point in forcing people to all breathe the same way. And then the next time, let your shoulder, your head come down towards the ground. If they can't quite reach, you can just put a blanket or something under your head or your shoulder. That left hand can reach to the front of your mat. And that right hand can try to reach a bit further away from you and lengthening away from you on your exhalation. So inhale to stay where you are, and on your, I did it wrong now. Inhale to stay where you are, and exhale to reach your right hand further away from you. Stay where you are on your inhalation, and on your exhalation, think of reaching your right hand, your right fingertips further away from your face. So try this a couple more times. Stay where you are on your inhalation, and then reach that right hand further away from you on your exhalation, lengthening through your whole right arm. And you may feel a bit more stretch in the back of your right shoulder blade. Let's change sides. Right hand roughly underneath your chest. Lift up, turn and twist, down and over to the right. Bend the right elbow. Look up, turn and twist, down and over to the right. In to thread the needle. Option 1, let your breath flow. So you're moving and you're letting your breath flow whatever way it feels nice. Or option 2, inhaling on the way up, stretching your inhalation. Exhaling on the way down, stretching your exhalation. So see which option feels nicer. with this flow now. And just because you used one option earlier doesn't mean you have to use the same option here. So you're totally allowed to change. And then again, let the shoulder, the head come down. Maybe put something underneath it if you like for some extra cushioning. Your right arm goes to the front of your mat. And your left arm is the one stretching away from you now. And this time I'm going to show you from the front. Right arm to the front of your mat. Left arm is the one lengthening away from you. So as you exhale, you're trying to move your left arm further away from you to stretch it, to lengthen it. So inhale, stay where you are. And with your exhalation, try to reach and lengthen that left hand more away from you. There may not be a lot of movement happening, but just by reaching your arm away a little bit, you may feel a little bit more sensation or stretch across your left shoulder blade. So try this 2-3 more times in your own breathing pace. Lovely. And then let's come into a seated position. You can sit on your blocks or on a blanket, on a pillow if you like. Bring your feet together and let your knees go out to the sides. And then allow your whole body to bend and to slump. You can make it a bit more intense by reaching more forward, leaning more forward, or less intense by bringing your weight back. So you can do this anytime throughout the move. Let your elbows, your arms, your shoulders, your head go heavy. No matter if this is up here or down here, so wherever you are. And then you can either stay here, taking a couple of breaths here, or if you like, see what option works better for you, which you prefer. If you like, the second option is thinking of your chest and reaching it forward to the front of your mat on your inhalation and letting it melt down and soften down and drop on your exhalation. So your chest is reaching forward on your inhalation and then relaxing and dropping down on the exhalation. So you can make this more dynamic, option 2, or more static, just staying here, letting yourself drop down, option 1. Again, one option is not better than the other, but one option may just simply feel nicer than the other. So see which option is the nicest one for you right now. If you feel that your body starts getting used to that position and it feels easier to go further, totally feel free to do that. But if you feel that it's getting a bit too intense, maybe too uncomfortable, too painful, then back off a little bit to a position that feels more comfortable, more enjoyable. Take another breath or 2 here. And then come back into a seated position. You can leave the legs the way they are and just move a bit further forward. Also, if you like, you can use a pillow or a blanket, whatever you have, for under your back. So not for your lower back, more for your mid back. So I'll show you what you can do. First thing, you're either lying flat on the ground. Second thing, put something under your back, more the mid back, so where your shoulder blades are, but keep your neck and your head free, so you're getting a little bit more stretch and opening through the chest. So if you have something super big, then roll it together, so you actually have it covering where your ribs are and not where your neck and your lower back is. You can take that out anytime if you don't like it anymore. With your feet still together and the knees out to the side, for some people it gives them a bit of pain or too much strain or too much stretch in the inside of the legs. What you can do then is put something under your knees to prop them up. Again, either a couple of blankets or wedge your blocks in, which can be a quite nice version. And then your arms can go anywhere, over your head or either side your body, or down by your hips. So anywhere in a snow angel position, whatever feels comfortable. You can bend the elbows or straighten them. So see what you prefer. And once you're there, know that you can totally change your position. So again, if something doesn't feel good at all and you don't change anything, you can't expect things to change. You can't expect the sensations to feel any different. So you can try and see how does it feel like. And I'll take the blocks out now so I can see better. How does it feel like to take the feet further away compared to bringing your feet closer towards you? What position feels better? What position feels nicer for you right now? And then does it feel nice to let your shoulders and your elbows and your hands sink into the ground a little bit more? Can you let your head go heavy and soften your throat? And how does it feel like to relax and soften your chest? So give yourself a moment to get comfortable with this position, knowing that you can change anything, anytime. Going further into it or moving a little bit out of it, depending on if you want more or less sensation. Going further sometimes means a bit more of an intense stretch, and that's perfectly fine. And sometimes it means more pain, and that's not okay. Then I want you to back off. So know that you can change and modify any position anytime. Give yourself 3 more breaths here. Softening your jaw. See if it feels good to relax your bum cheeks and your belly. And then if you've been using stuff under your back, then take it out underneath you. It's time to get ready and comfortable for Shavasana. So you can do Shavasana, the end relaxation, in any position. We're gonna keep that short and sweet today. You can be on your belly, on your side, you can sit up for this. If you want to be on your back, sometimes people feel a little discomfort in the lower back, and it may go away if you put something under your knees or the back of your thighs, like your blocks or your blanket, whatever you have there. Another version which could feel nice is bending your knees, taking the feet out and letting your knees rest against each other. But any other position is perfectly fine. So see what works best for you. The arms can go either side your body. We're gonna be lying for a couple of minutes. So if you feel that you are cooling down a little bit, then cover yourself with a warm jumper or a blanket. So get your socks, your jumpers, your blankets, and give yourself a moment to get comfortable. You can be in any position. And know that you can change your position again anytime if you don't like it anymore. If you have something to cover your eyes, like an eye pillow, you can do that. But alternatively, you can also just soften your gaze or close your eyes. And before you get settled, see if it feels nice to give yourself a smile. And you can keep that for a breath or two. So if you do give yourself a bit of a smile, just see if this is something that helps you relax your face. Or maybe that makes you feel nice. And then let yourself get heavy, let your body drop and sink into the ground. Feel the ground underneath you and allow the ground, allow the floor to hold you and to support you. So allow yourself to drop and to settle into the ground. And allow the ground to hold you, to support you. Allow yourself to be held and be supported by the ground. And again, without changing your breath, without judging your breath, can you feel your breath? How does it feel like to breathe? How does your inhalation feel like compared to your exhalation? Maybe you can feel on the inhalation how the air is filling up your lungs, making them expand and stretch out. Maybe you can feel on your exhalation how the air is leaving your lungs, leaving your body. And there may be a sense of dropping, of softening, of relaxing, of letting go. So how does your inhalation and your exhalation feel like? Maybe it feels a bit different compared to throughout the class or compared to the very beginning of the class. Again, which is very normal. So does your breath feel nice the way it is right now for you? Then leave it and enjoy it. If you like, slow down your breath a little bit and see if this makes your breath feel nicer. So slow your breath a little bit, and you can always add more as you like. And give yourself a moment with that. How slow does your breath feel good like? And again, there's no right or wrong. Whatever way feels good for you right now, that's the way you want to be doing it. So the more you learn to notice how things feel in the first place, the more you will be able to start changing those things. So you can start working with your body, reacting to your body, and helping yourself to move and to feel better. By learning when to do more or when to do less, or when it's just perfectly fine, the way you're doing things. So how does your breath feel like? Would it need to slow down a little bit more to feel better, or is it already perfectly fine? Give yourself another moment with that. And then if it feels nice, start to deepen your inhalation a little bit more. So just adding some length to each inhalation you're taking. So starting to gently wake up your body a little bit more by taking more air, more energy in. And then start to wriggle your toes and wriggle your fingers. You can gently roll your head from side to side. Stretch your arms over your heads, point your feet, making the whole body, the whole front of your body long. And then do the opposite. You can, still being on your back, hug the knees into your belly, hold them there for a moment, or rock your knees a little bit from side to side. And then slowly roll yourself onto a side, right or left. That's totally up to you. Stay there for a moment, lying on your side. And then there's no rush at all, so take your time and slowly get yourself back up into any comfortable seated position. On your blocks or sitting on the ground, totally up to you. See what leg position feels comfortable. Your hands can go back down onto your thighs, palms relaxed facing up towards the ceiling. Let your elbows and your shoulders relax. Soften your face and your jaw. And then we'll finish together, inhaling through the nose, opening the mouth for the exhalation. You can make your inhalation as long and as deep as it feels good for you. Relax your throat on the exhalation and repeat this a couple more times in your own breathing pace. And then slowly close your mouth. Come back to a nose breath if possible. Give your breath a moment to settle back to its normal, natural flow. And then start to wake up your fingers and your toes. Give them a little bit of a wriggle. Include your shoulders. Start to roll your shoulders back, feeling the shoulder joints, the shoulder blades move. Let the movement travel up into your face. Give yourself a big smile and hold it for a breath or two if you like, feeling your face muscles wake up and warm up and relax. And then let's open the eyes. If you like, you're welcome to place your hands together in front of your heart center and bow down with me. Namaste.